Welcome to the Midmark Imaging Software tutorial. Thank you for trusting Midmark with your purchase of our digital dental sensor and software package. We will break up this tutorial into multiple short sections and recordings in order for you to focus on certain areas or go back to review sections you need additional time learning. Aside from this video tutorial, there is a flash drive that came in the sensor box, and it contains an electronic copy of the software manual. To access this, plug that flash drive into your USB port. Open up your folders. The flash drive will come up as progeny_VP. Double-click. Locate the folder that says User Manuals, Progeny Imaging, Veterinary, and then here is our guide in a PDF. And now you have the Progeny Imaging User Guide, 89 pages of applications with detailed instructions. In addition to the user manual on the flash drive, we also have a built-in index right inside the software. To access the index, you go up to the top toolbar and select Help, Index, and now we have a list of every topic that you may want to learn more information or understand how to perform those applications. We have a search window here, and we have a scroll bar if you want to scroll down. These are in alphabetical order. I'm going to type in the search box export if I want to learn more on how to export images. And now you'll see that pulls up. I've got a couple different options of what kind of format I want to export. I'm going to select DICOM. And now you'll see we have an instructional on how to export DICOM images. This is a great resource to have within the software in case you need to learn to do something in the moment. There are 12 components to the screen. We will go through each one by one. Section number 1 is the main menu bar. This is where all the commands for the imaging functions will be found. Section number 2 is the Patient Controls Toolbar. This is where you open, create, and modify patient records. Section number 3, Device Controls Toolbar. This is where we select image acquisition modules. In our case, this would be the DR sensor. Section number 4, Undo and Redo Toolbar. This is where you can undo and redo image filters. Section number 5, Template Controls Toolbar. This is where you select a template or open the template manager. Section number 6, Image Operations Toolbar. This is where you can print, copy to clipboard, or save images. Section number 7, Slideshow View button. This provides an enlarged image display that includes a thumbnail carousel at the bottom. Section number 8, Tooth Panel. This is where we select sequences of teeth and acquire images. Section number 9, Filter or Enhancing Toolbar. This is where we can manipulate the way an image is displayed. Section number 10, the Work Surface. This is where we display, filter, and annotate our images. Section 11 is the Patient Panel or Image Database. This is where we store images and files in a patient record. And then finally, number 12 is the Progress and Status bar. This includes image acquisition progress, sensor readiness, and current user and server information.
Now I'd like to show you how to enter your clinic information and select your preferred language to use the Midmark Imaging Software. If you want to add your clinic information, you go up here to Tools, go to Options, and now here it's automatically in the clinic information. Here you can add the name of your hospital, the address. You can even upload the logo of your hospital. The maximum is 128 by 128. Once you're done entering this information, you click Apply and OK. The reason for this is when you print your take-home reports, it will have your hospital name and logo at the top of the page. Next, we want to select the preferred language. Same thing, go to Tools, Options. If we go under General, over here to the right, it gives us the options to select the language. It's automatically defaulted at English, but you see there are many options for languages with our software. Once you make the selection, you click Apply and OK. To create a new patient, there are two options. You can go to this top toolbar and select Patient, New, or you can use the shortcut, which is this folder with the sun on it. This opens up the patient property window. Midmark Imaging requires 4 things to open a patient and begin acquiring images. We want the patient's first name, the owner's last name, the patient's birthday, and the species. We have 4 options for species: canine, feline, rabbit, and other. Everything else in this window is optional. If you have the client's email address, you may want to enter it here in the event you would like to email images directly from the work surface. You can also upload a picture of the patient here. When you click this box, it will take you into a browse window and you can upload a JPEG image. Once you're done entering patient information, you click OK. I'll enter a study patient. Now this brings me right into the patient record and I can begin acquiring images. Now let's cover how to open an existing patient. You would open an existing patient to review previous images that were acquired, or if you're adding new images to a patient folder. 2 options to do that: either go to the patient window and go to Open, or there's a shortcut with this folder here, 2 down from the new patient folder. This will pull up a list of all the patients you've acquired images on, with alphabetical order by the last name. You can search by any one of these tabs as well. At the top, you could search by first name and it'll put it in alphabetical order, or last image acquired. You can also type in the last name in the last name filter, and it will narrow down your field. Once you locate your patient, you double click, and this will now bring you into that patient's folder. As you can see, all of the images that we've previously acquired will load in this patient database folder, and you have your appropriate tooth template with the try-it-in numbers above and below the image. If you need to modify a patient's record, you would go up to the Patient tab on the top toolbar, left-click on that, and if you go all the way down to the bottom of the window, you select Properties. This will pull up that original New Patient Properties window. Here you can make any changes to the information you added or make additions into this particular area. Once you're done changing or adding information, you just select OK, and all of that information will be saved to the patient record. If you want to delete a patient record, you would go right back up to that tab on the top toolbar that says Patient, and then you'll notice you have a Delete Patient option. Now, I wouldn't suggest deleting any patients you've acquired images on, but maybe you've entered a new patient that never came in for the procedure. So I would suggest removing any empty patients that you have in the patient database. Now, if you would like to add a file to a patient record, this is easy to do as well. And what I mean by adding a file, you could upload before and after camera pictures of that patient, or you could even upload a report. So at the end of the procedure, when you create a nice take-home report, that can be saved as a PDF and then uploaded into the patient database. So how you would add an image or a report to the patient database, you would go right back up to that top toolbar, select Image, and then you would go down to Import, and now this will pull up your folders where you have images. You would just locate the folder that you put those images in, and then you would just select. You could either select one or you can select multiples. Once you're done making that selection, you just hit Open at the bottom, and now you will see that report has uploaded into the patient database.
Underneath the tooth panel, you'll see a few icons here. We already discussed this one being the quickfire mode. This here is the radiation symbol or acquisition button. This starts acquisition of the selected sequences of teeth. This works in the tooth panel mode and the template mode. The next I would like to go over is the pause acquisition mode. You can use this when you want to pause the image acquisition between your sequences. When the acquisition is paused, this button changes to a resume button. You'll notice the paused sequence turns purple, and now that pause button comes up with a triangle, which is the resume acquisition button. Once I select this, it will now allow you to acquire that paused image acquisition. The last thing here underneath the tooth panel is the X button. This just clears the work surface for you, so it removes all sequences of teeth that are highlighted for that acquisition. Now I'd like to demonstrate our quickfire mode. The quickfire is the radiation symbol with the lightning bolt through it. Once we select that, it engages our sensor, and now we can begin acquiring as many images as needed without highlighting a tooth on the tooth chart or using a template. This will allow us to take one right after the other. When we're done acquiring the last image, we will hit the stop sign, and what this will do is it will ask us if we want to cancel further acquisitions. We're going to say yes. And now what we can do is use the arrows on either side of the image to scroll through, and it will allow us to review and evaluate our images. Now remember, with the quickfire, we don't get the try-it-in numbers on the top. So if we take it out of slideshow mode, we're going to right-click Tile. Now we can go back and relabel our images. We'll double-click on this image here, and you'll notice at the top left, we do not have a try-it-in number. So if we select the tooth icon on the upper right, it will populate a tooth chart. And now we can select the appropriate try-it-in number, and you'll see that it now populates on the top left of that image. Let's do that for the remainder of our images on the work surface. And when I'm Xing out the image on the right side here, I'm not deleting it, I'm just putting it back into the patient panel. So this one we're going to add multiple teeth in here. So we're going to highlight the 101, 102, and 103. And then the 201, 202, and 203. And now you'll see those numbers populate. We're going to put this image back into the patient panel. And as we look over here in that patient panel, now you'll see those trident numbers attached to the image. Now let's cover the template acquisition. We'll go up to the template drop-down box and select our preferred template. We'll take the full mouth series. Now we'll have the empty image containers appear on the screen with the number of images we're going to take in the order. And then we'll put it into the slideshow viewer so we get that nice big screened image. You'll notice that we hit this radiation symbol, the ones will flash, and now we're ready to begin acquiring our images, and they will begin populating. So the template mode is really ideal when you're standardizing on full mouth radiographs for all of your patients, because it gives you a standardized way that you're going to acquire the image, the same order, the same number of images, and we suggest that you create, which we'll show you how to do in another portion of this tutorial, how to customize the templates based on the size of the patient. And however you have those patients positioned, whether they're sternal dorsal, whether you take them on their side, whether you do them in dorsal recumbency, you can really customize these templates based on how you like to acquire your images. And now you'll notice how we're progressing through, and our previous images are loading here at the thumbnail carousel on the bottom of the screen. Getting ready to take our mandibular incisors. And we've done a little burnout on these mandibular incisors, so what I want to do is reacquire this one. So we're going to hit pause, and you'll see the 7s are now paused. We're going to right click and select reacquire replace. And now there is our lighter image. All I did was I reduced the settings on my generator. And now we're ready to move on to the next image. It automatically goes back into the acquisition mode. And now here what I've done is I've cut off the apices of my tooth roots, so we're going to have to go in and reacquire this one as well. So we're going to do a reacquire replace. And here what I'm doing is I'm pushing my sensor in a little further. I like the length of my tooth roots, but I really just need to get down below to show those apices of these tooth roots. So I'm pushing my sensor in a little farther in the patient's mouth. And now I really like this one. So now our last one here on this side is just to get a better view of the distal root of that last molar. And there we have a beautiful view here, so we'll move on to the other side of the patient. Okay, this looks good. And now we'll take our final image here. And now we'll ask if we want to save this as a study, and we do. So we're going to select yes right here. And now these images are going to appear in the template view. We're going to get an additional full mouth template in our studies tab. And to review and evaluate these, let's put this back into the slideshow mode. And this way we can scroll left and right and really allow the doctors to evaluate each one of these images. And you have the ability here to do your enhancing. We're going to invert here. Scroll to the next one. I'm going to cancel that. I tried to darken it up. I like the sharpening. We'll do that. Now let's rotate this one. Now we can move on to our next one. And again, here you can have the ability to use all your enhancing tools. You can take your notes, you can manipulate these images to help you better evaluate. Invert this just to see if we can get a better look at all three of these roots, and that does definitely help. And now we're done evaluating this. So now we're going to close out this template view. We're going to select right click, remove all, and we're going to talk about working off of the customizable tooth panel. This is the last way of how you can acquire images. And what we do is we go over, if we want to do multiples, we left click drag. If we want to highlight a single tooth, we're just going to left click and highlight that. And when we're ready to acquire those images, we hit that radiation symbol, and now we'll be able to acquire these two images. We can line up as many as we want here. We have a lot of clinics that prefer to do full mouth from this customizable panel. It's personal preference, but ideally you're going to use this for post-operative radiographs. And now we have our two views complete. And we can either view these in the slideshow view by scrolling back and forth, or what we can do is remove this from the slideshow viewer and then tile these up side by side. And this is how you utilize the customizable tooth panel. Creating templates. Templates are predefined groupings of image acquisition sequences that are used to streamline image acquisition. We have 3 templates built into the software, 3 for canine and 3 for feline patients. The template drop-down window is right here. If you hit the arrow, you will see the 3 built-in templates. Now, when you're in a canine patient, you'll see the same thing in the canine patient template drop-down box. We're going to teach you how to create your own custom templates, and then we're going to teach you how to modify existing templates. Let's start with creating your own custom template. I really like the option to create your own customized templates, because depending on how your patients are positioned, you're going to label and highlight these teeth sequences differently. For example, I prefer to do my maxillary quadrants with my patient in sternal recumbency. So I'm going to start and number my images differently than those of you who may be doing all of your dental x-rays with the patient in lateral recumbency. So the ability to create your own templates really gives you the flexibility to create these the way you want to create them. So in order to create your own custom template, we're going to pretend that we're working right off of the tooth panel. So for me, this is how I start. When I'm working on my feline patients, I do my incisors first. So I'm left clicking on my outer 103 and I'm dragging my arrow over all 6 of those incisors. I'm letting up on my left click. Now I have my first sequence. Then I go to my upper right canine. Then I go right around to my upper left. The reason I do this is because I can place the sensor right underneath those incisors and position my tube head, and without moving my sensor, I can take all 3 of those views without moving my sensor. All I'm doing is rotating my tube head around after I acquire my incisors, and I'm capturing those 2 canine teeth. So after I capture the number 3, I'm going to go ahead and capture these left upper cheek teeth. Then I'm going to go over to my right upper cheek teeth. And then I'm going to flip my patient, my feline patient, and I'm going to get my lower mandibular canines and incisors in one view. In our feline patients, you can get all 6 incisors and 2 canines in one view. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to line myself up 2 views for the right and left mandibular quadrant. The reason I do this is because depending on how I'm taking my images, I may cut off this root here of this premolar, or I could cut off this distal root of this last molar. So I always give myself 2 views here. So I'm holding my left click down for those, and then I'm just clicking that last molar 1 time. So this is the order in which I'm going to acquire my images. This is how many images I'm going to acquire for a full mouth. And then I'm going to right click anywhere on this template, and I'm going to select Save as a Template. And now I can label this however I want. I'm going to put my initials and full mouth feline. And then I'm going to click OK. Now this is going to pull up the template manager. I can drag this down, and now I can arrange these boxes in the way I would like to see them come up in the template form. So I'm left click and dragging these in place. And I can really arrange these however I want, or however you want to see these when you're looking at them in the template form. So after you've arranged these in the order and the way you would like to see them, you have to go up and hit Save. Okay, so now these are saved, and I can go up to Template. I can exit out of here. I only have to do this 1 time. So I create that template 1 time, and now for every feline patient that I'm in, if I'm working off of that template, I can come up, hit that drop down box, and now I can select my feline full mouth template. And if you remember when we talked about acquisition, we can either hit this radiation button and start acquiring these images, and the images will populate in these boxes, or what I can do is put it in that slideshow viewer, and now I'll get that nice full screen image after I've acquired the images, and then my previous images will load right down here in this image carousel like we demonstrated to you during the acquisition portion of the tutorial. So that's how you create your own custom templates. I do suggest that you create one for your feline patients. You create one for a small canine patient, a medium canine patient, a large canine patient, and then every now and then we get one of those great big extra large canine patients in. It's good to have a template prepared in those events where you're doing a full mouth on an extra large patient. So again, you just have to create that 1 time, and you'll never have to do it again. It'll always be saved right here in your drop-down window. Now let's cover how to modify an existing template. The 4 squares right here is your icon for the template manager. You're going to click on that. Now here is that full mouth series that I had already created in the order that I want to create that template in. We can modify this one, but let's go to the built-in template that came with the software. So this is the template that you had built into your software. Now what we can do is we can simply change the numbering of the order that we would like to take these images. For instance, maybe you're acquiring your dental radiographs with the patient in lateral recumbency. And if that's the case, you're going to start and finish in a different place than me, who would do them in sternal dorsal. So what we can do here is we can change the order of these numbers. Now this particular template is set up for someone who can acquire a full mouth and a feline patient in 8 views. A lot of people do it this way. I personally like 10, but as you get comfortable with acquiring these images, you'll find out rather quickly how many you're comfortable with, and you can modify any template that's already created. So let's take this number 4, because now this is going to be our number 1. We're assuming now that we like to take these images with the patient in lateral recumbency. So we're going to right click on that number 4, and we're going to move this down in sequences until we get it to say the number 1. And now our number 2 is going to stay right where it is, but now what we're going to do with this 6 and 7 is we're going to change these as well. And then we're going to flip our patient, and we can acquire these just as they are here. So we just had to change the order on the one side, and the rest are really matching up. So then we go up here to hit save, and now this is saved. So now we have modified this existing template so that we can take our images in lateral recumbency. So it's very easy. Now, maybe we want 10 images for our patient in lateral recumbency. So what we can do is we can add in anything from these options over here. Personally, when I like to take my incisors and canines, I really like to do them separately. Even in the mandibular quadrant where we can get both canine and incisors in one view, I always like to get my canines in a separate view. So if I want to add an upper anterior, which are just going to be the incisors, I can do that. And I can do that on the bottom as well. So I'm taking this existing template and I'm just rearranging these. So we'll go 1, 2, and then this is now going to become the 3. And now I can kind of bump these out of the way, make room for my incisor view, and we're going to keep that 4 and 5. We're going to change this to the 6. Flip our patient, and then the rest of our images are in order. Okay, now don't forget we have to go up and hit save, and then template exit. And now let's come in here to the template drop-down box, and let's go to our full mouth, and here is our template. And again, when we're ready to begin acquiring, we hit this radiation symbol, or we can put that in slideshow mode and follow that same order. And that's how you modify an existing template. The next thing I'd like to cover is how you can skip sequences when you're working in a template mode. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up one of our templates here. We'll pull up this full mouth one. So let's say we have this particular patient and maybe it's missing some teeth and we don't need to acquire a particular image, or maybe we're not doing a full mouth set of x-rays on this particular patient. So what we can do is we can come over to any one of these sequences here and we can right click and say skip sequence. So let's say we don't want to take that upper right quadrant on this particular patient. We can skip that. Maybe we don't need to take these mandibular incisors, so we're going to skip this sequence. Maybe we can skip sequence 7 as well. So now we have on here the images that we're going to take, and we have skipped the area of the mouth that we do not need to take. And once we hit this radiation symbol, it's now going to take us through in the order we've selected, but also skip those images that we don't necessarily need to acquire. So keep in mind, in order to skip those sequences, we need to do this before we start taking the images. So as you get your patient on the procedure table and you decide how you're going to proceed through with the dental radiographs, you have to decide before you start the acquisition which images you want to skip and which ones you want to take. Let's take a look at the patient panel or patient database. This is where all the images acquired on the patient you have opened will be stored in thumbnail size. You can lengthen or open up the size of this patient database window by selecting this up or down arrow on the right side of the database. The most recent image will be at the very top, and if you scroll down to the bottom, this will be the oldest image in the database. There are two slide bars, one on the side, which will allow you to scroll up and down through the images where you can look for particular teeth or a particular date you've acquired images. And then at the bottom, you have a scroll that will allow you to increase or decrease the size of your thumbnail images. Now I'd like to go over how we can filter the image list. There are several options we have to filter these images we're looking at in the patient panel. The first would be the history button. So if I want to search for all of the 104s that we've ever acquired on this particular patient, I can type in that tooth number, and now that panel is filtered down to just show me the 104s. If I want to reset and go back to view the 26 images in the patient folder, I hit the back arrow and that takes me back to the reset folder. The second option would be to search by the date of acquisition. So if I hit the little down arrow, it will populate all of the days that I've acquired images on this particular patient. Let's say I'd like to look at the images from April of 2013. I select that date, and now you see we have the 3 images that we acquired in April of 2013 for review. Again, I'm going to hit this reset button. The other thing we have the option of doing is searching this tab up here. If we hit this, it is now going to put the images in chronological order. So now I can look at all the teeth in the 100 quadrants. I can look at all the times I've acquired in the 200 quadrants, all the way down to the 400 quadrants. So I really like the ability to search by chronological tooth number or quadrant as well. We also have the option, which is similar to the date function down here, to search by date and time, and this is the default of how these images are displayed when we open up the patient folder. On the top of the patient image panel, there are 3 tabs: Folder, Studies, and Patient. You'll see here, Folder has the number 26 on it. That means we have taken 26 images on this particular patient. If we go over to the Studies tab, Studies are a collection of images that have been saved and named by date, and we will cover how to create and open studies in another portion of the tutorial. But you see here, there are several saved for this particular patient. And then the last tab is the Patient Information tab. This has all the patient information here on the patient that you have open and are acquiring images on. Lastly, in the patient panel, I would like to cover Delete and Publish options. To delete an image, you must make sure that the image you wish to remove from the patient folder is highlighted in the patient panel. Once that image or images are highlighted in the patient panel, you can hit the delete button. It is going to ask you, are you sure you want to delete this image? So after confirming that this is the image you would like to delete, you can select yes. You can also delete images from the work surface. You just want to make sure that your image that you want to remove is highlighted on the work surface, and then you always want to check and make sure that that is the image highlighted on your database. Once you've confirmed that, you can select delete. It will ask you again for confirmation. If you accidentally delete an image, please call tech support and they can help you recover it, but it can be recovered. Now I'd like to go over the publish option. If you have a PACS server attached to your full body x-ray system in your practice, you can also store these dental images into this PACS server. You can push the images into that server because they are DICOM images. In order to connect Midmark Imaging Software to your PACS server, we will need three things. We need the AE title, the IP address, and the port number off your PACS server. Once you have these three things, call 1-800-MIDMARK, option 3, option 1, and one of our technical support team members will help you configure these two modalities. To display previously acquired images, open the patient record with the images you would like to view. Once the patient record is opened, you may increase the size of the patient panel. Now you can locate the images you would like to display. You can use the horizontal slider to adjust the view of the patient panel to help you find the image or images you would like to view on the work surface. There are a couple of different ways that you can get images over onto the work surface. If you're just looking at one particular view, you can double-click on that image and it will come up over onto the work surface. Another way you can do that is hold your left-click button down and drag the image over on the work surface. So those are two different ways, and then you can right-click and tile and these images can come up side by side. So you either double-click the image on the patient panel or you can hold your left-click and drag. That is how you would get single images over onto the work surface. If you want to pull multiple images over onto the work surface, there are a couple of different ways you can do that. If we want to pull these images over from June 20th, we can locate that first image from that day. We're going to hold our left-click button down. We're going to drag and highlight these teeth from June and drag them over onto the work surface. Now this will load multiple images, and you can either right-click tile to pull them up side by side, or you can put that in the slideshow mode, and now you can scroll through these images and view them in full screen size. The other way you can view images on the screen is you can type the tooth number in the history button. If you're looking for, let's say, all of the 104s, you can type in 104 in the history, and now we've pulled up 3 different 104 images. And I'm going to hold my left click down, drag it over those 3 teeth, and pull them over onto the work surface. Now I can either right click tile, or I can put that in slideshow mode and scroll through my images. The other option you have to view images on the work surface is if you've created a study or created a collection of images that were acquired on a particular day or a combination of particular days, you can go to the Studies tab, double-click on the study you would like to view, and now these images will come up just as you would like to see them on the screen. If you'd like to put these in slideshow mode, you can do that. And now, once again, you can scroll through this particular study, which is a full mouth series on a feline patient. And again, we will go over how to create these studies in a different section of the tutorial. When you close an image, the software will automatically resave the image. If you'd like to close an individual image, you can hit the X at the upper right corner of the image container. This takes that one image from the work surface and puts it back into the database. If you would like to clear the entire work surface, you can go up to Work Surface on the toolbar and select Remove All. And this will clear your work surface and put those images back down into the patient panel. It does not delete the images. If you are reviewing a study and would like to remove the images off of the work surface to put back into the Studies tab, you would do the same thing. You would go up to Work Surface and select Remove All. If you have images in a slideshow viewer and you would like to remove all of the images from the work surface, you would do the same thing once again. Go up to Work Surface, Remove All. Enhancing and Filter Toolbar. We're going to go over the Enhancing Toolbar here that runs up the center of our screen. There are some options that will allow us to control the image view, whether it's zooming in, zooming out, magnify, or even rotating an image. And then towards the bottom of this enhancing toolbar, we can apply filters to the image that will sharpen, darken, invert the images to allow us to make a better diagnosis. I will not cover every single one of these options on the toolbar, but I do want to go over the ones that I know you'll use the most frequently. If you want more information on what every single one of these tools can do, please refer to your user manual. So the first one that you're going to use is the zoom in. This enlarges the view of the image. So if I click this one time, it will just zoom in on the image. And then we have a slide bar on the bottom of that image and on the side of that image that will allow us to pan around the image and get a better view. If we want to go back to the original, we're going to select this Unzoom All. The next one I want to cover is the magnifying glass. I really like this one. Once you click on it, you hold your left click button down, and this displays a virtual magnifying glass. Really helps you key in on some of these anatomical structures and allows us to get a better view on the image. We've got the rotate button here where we can rotate these images. It'll rotate them 90 degrees. One of my favorite features on the enhancing toolbar is the post-it note. It's here on the enhancing toolbar, but there's a shortcut on the bottom of each image that's acquired with the post-it note here. If you select that, a text box will open up, and here you can type in whatever information you choose on this particular image, whether those are medical notes, what you've done as far as treatment, or you could choose to use this text box as a client communication tool, where you can print an image out at the end of the procedure and have these notes attached to it for the client. I'm going to type no significant findings here on this particular x-ray, and you'll notice once we take notes on the image, it will kind of come up with the little notes on the post-it. That way you know, if you go back to review this image later, that you've taken some notes on this image. And if you look over here in the patient panel, you'll see all of the images that you've taken notes on previously, and that way you can go back and review your notes or add additional notes to it. Next, we will get into going through the available filters that will help us better evaluate our images. The first one here is Adjust Brightness, Contrast, and Intensity. This pulls up a slide bar that will allow you to adjust brightness, contrast, and intensity. I don't find that this is a tool I use very often because when the images do come up, they typically come up with the perfect contrast each time. So this may be something I use from time to time, but not something that I utilize on a regular basis. Once you hit OK, it'll remember that filter, but you always have this undo button which will take you back to the original. The next on the toolbar is the gamma. This displays a filter to make changes to the overall brightness and intensity of an image. Use the gamma filter to lighten an image that is too dark potentially. So this one also has a slide tool on it where you can adjust the intensity of the image. Once again, this isn't one that I use a ton. The next filter is one of my favorites. This is the invert button. This will give you a negative of the image. I really love the way it makes those periodontal ligaments and pulp chambers stand out, and it really does help when you're evaluating patients that could potentially have resorptive lesions, tooth root fractures, and those sorts of things. I'm going to skip down here to the sharpening filter. This is one that I do use a lot, and I really like it because it gives me more of a black and white image. It really sharpens that image and it enhances the edges of the anatomical structures. Typically, I just hit that one time and I don't need to use this slide bar to make any additional adjustments. So you can see how that really tightened up that image for us. The next filter I'd like to talk about is the embossing filter. This will create a pseudo three-dimensional image. I really like it because it helps define those three-rooted teeth that are sometimes really challenging to visualize, especially in a cat through the zygomatic arch. This is also really useful for that upper fourth premolar in those large canine patients as well. Midmark Imaging's annotation tools are located on the Annotate and Measure toolbar. It's this ruler here. If you select this, it will open up a toolbar window at the bottom of your image. I will go through each of these annotation features. First is the marker, or the pointer. Once I select that, I can come right up here to an image and put a pointer. I can move that around by holding my left click and dragging it. So now I have a marker at a particular area of my image. The second one is the square with the T, which is a text. This adds an editable text box to an image and allows you to make a note on the actual image. I come up to an area where I can draw my text box. I'm holding my left click button down and drawing that box, and now I can type in whatever I would like that note to be. The next is the arrow. So now I can draw that arrow, and I can draw these anywhere on the image. It starts with the point, and you can move this around. I'm holding my left click button down and dragging these. Once I've drawn my arrow, I can click on the image and move this around. I can make it bigger, I can move it, I can place it wherever I want. Next is the rectangle, so I can draw a rectangle around a certain area. Now I'm moving it. I can also draw a circle. And what I typically do is come up here, I draw my circle, and now if I want to make it bigger, stretch it out, move it around, I can do that as well. So now I can move this around. And that's how you use the annotation toolbar. Now, if you wanted to delete any of these annotations on an image, what you need to do is make sure you're in that annotation toolbar. So you want to be able to see these tools down at the bottom of the image. And let's say we want to get rid of this particular annotation. I hover my arrows over it. I'm going to left click. You'll see the tips of that annotation highlight in green. And now I'm just going to hit delete on my keypad. Same thing here. If I want to get rid of my marker, I just left click on it, make sure I have my little green highlight there, click delete, and now that's gone. Same thing over here. If I want to delete this one, I have my arrows hovered over it, left click, delete. And that's how you delete your annotations. Creating image studies. Studies are collections of images that can be saved and named. Images acquired using a template automatically appear as a study named for the template used and date and time of acquisition. In addition, any images that are displayed on the work surface can also be saved as a study. A study may be created to track the development of a particular pathology over several encounters with the patient. Studies are saved to the Studies tab located in the Patient panel in a patient record. The number in the Studies tab is the number of studies in the patient's record. The Studies tab shows a thumbnail image of the study and provides the name or number of the study, a description of the study, and the date on which the study was created. If not all studies are visible in the Studies tab, a scroll bar displays to allow all items to be viewed. The slider at the bottom of the study adjusts the view more easily to find your studies. Let's talk about how to save a study from individual images that are in your folder. Let's say we want to pull up all of the 108 images that we've acquired. I type in the 108 in the Histories tab, and now the Patient panel has narrowed down to that upper right quadrant. I'm going to pull these images over on the work surface. I'm holding my left click down, dragging over these 3 images, and then dragging them over to the work surface. I'm going to right click, Tile. Once we get the images on the work surface that we want to create a folder for, we hit the Studies tab, and now we come down to the bottom and we can name the study with a description. So I'm just going to type in 108, and in my description I can put in upper right cheek teeth. And then I'm going to hit save. And now you'll notice we've got this new study uploaded into our Studies tab. So the next time this patient comes in for a procedure, we can add additional images to this study, or we can review this study and compare with the new images that we took on the current day. So we go to Studies, and we can double click on that 108, and now here are all of the images that we created in that study folder. Now, if we have a new image from the current day that we would like to add to this collection of images that we created a study for, we go back to the folder and we locate the new image. I don't have another 08 image, so I'm just going to put a different image in here. So I'm going to drag this over. Now I'm going to go back to that Studies tab and hit Save. It's going to ask, do we want to overwrite the existing study? We say yes. And now you'll notice this new study has all 4 images in there. And then if for some reason you ever want to delete a study, it's as simple as having that study highlighted on the Studies tab and then selecting delete. And it will ask, are you sure you want to do this? When acquiring images in a full mouth template, such as one of these in the drop-down area, when you've completed your series of x-rays, that template will automatically get saved in the Studies folder. So you'll have your individual images here, but then it will also save that full mouth template in your Studies tab. So let me show you how that's going to look. I've pulled up my template here. Now I can either hit this radiation symbol and go ahead and begin acquiring the images, and the images will load in these squares here, or I suggest you acquire this full mouth template in the slideshow viewer. So you first have to select the template you want to acquire, then you go ahead and put it in slideshow view. Now this will give you that full screen image, and it will take you all the way through your 10 images until you acquire the last one in your full mouth sequence. I'm going to go ahead and put this in demo mode so that you can see how this is going to work and how that template is going to be automatically saved in the studies. When I'm ready to begin acquiring my image, I'm going to hit this radiation symbol. And because I have this in auto mode, these images are going to populate with white images. But I really just want to give you guys a feel of how this is going to work. And this will take us through all 10 of our images. And now you'll see what happens with our last image. It's going to ask us, do we want to close the template and save as a study? We're going to say yes. Now if we look over here in the studies, we now have 6, and here is our new template that we've added today. And this is what one will look like when it comes up on the screen after you've opened it in the template view. To view these images, you can go to that slideshow viewer, and now you can scroll back and forth through these images here. Make your enhancements, take notes, but you have them in individuals over here in your folder, and then they get saved in the Studies tab as well. Midmark Imaging Veterinary Software provides multiple methods of making patient images available outside the application. Image files can be exported, printed, sent to PACS, and emailed. Images can also be imported into the Midmark Imaging Software. Let's cover exporting patient images first. Midmark Imaging Software allows for the selection of the image type when exporting the image. Images can be exported in DICOM or JPEG format, as well as other formats. Let's cover how to export DICOM images. Images can be exported in DICOM format from a patient record to a folder on the computer or an external hard drive or network location. When exporting patient images, Midmark Imaging Software creates a Progeny Imaging Export folder in a designated location. The folder contains copies of the image files that have been exported. Midmark Imaging names the DICOM image files with the patient name and the number indicating the order in which the images were exported. The folder also contains the ImageJ viewer, which is a DICOM compliant image viewer. Using this, the recipient of the images from Midmark Imaging Software can view the image in DICOM format. Now I will demonstrate how to export DICOM images. You must be in a patient's folder. You go to the top toolbar and select Patient. From there, you go down to Export Patient Images. This will open the Export Images and Viewer screen. This screen shows all of the images in the patient's record. And you can scroll alongside or underneath to increase the images so you can locate which ones you would like to export. You have a couple options. You can export all by selecting all, or if you would like to select several images, hold down the Control key while selecting the images. When the images are selected, the status bar at the bottom of the Export Images and Image Viewer screen shows the amount of space that will be required in the target location for the selected images. Once you either select all or select multiple images, you will then select the Export button. Now you can decide where you would like this folder to be created. I'm going to choose the desktop. Then you will see 100% export completed, and you can click Close. Now you will go onto your desktop, locate the Progeny Imaging Export file and double click on it, and now you will have your images, whether it's the whole export of all of the images you've acquired or just a select few that you would like to export. And here they are in the Progeny Imaging Export folder on your desktop. One thing to take note of, with DICOM images, you cannot open these and view them like you can a JPEG image. A DICOM image can only be viewed inside a software that has an image day viewer or a DICOM viewer. So then you may wonder, why would you need to export or email a DICOM image? The reason for that is typically if you're sending images to a boarded dentist for a referral or consultation, they prefer the DICOM image format. This will allow them to import that DICOM image with all of its original information into their imaging software so that they can manipulate it and enhance it to help them better evaluate that image. Another way we can export a DICOM image is to publish it to a PACS server. If the Midmark Imaging Software is configured to publish to a PACS server, the images can be sent to that server directly from the patient panel. In order to get this set up, you must call 1-800-MIDMARK, option 3, option 1 for our technical support department, and they will assist you in configuring Midmark Imaging Software to your PACS server. Prior to making the phone call, please have 3 things off of your PACS server. We're going to need the port number, the IP address, and the AE title. Once you have those 3 things, give Midmark Tech Support a call and they can set these up for you. There's a couple different ways we can export the DICOM images into that server. We can select the images from the patient panel, singly or multiples, and then we hit the publish button right down here at the bottom of this patient panel. And it'll ask, publish selected DICOM images to server, and we would say, okay. The other way is if you did a full mouth template or created a study for a particular series of images, we go to the Studies tab, highlight the study that we would like to publish to the PACS, and then again come down here and select Publish. Once we select OK, all of these images will go right into the PACS server. Now let's talk about how to export JPEG images. It's nice to export JPEG images, especially because these are images that the client can actually open. So you can export these and email them to the client, or you can export these and potentially import them into the patient file within your practice management software. When exporting JPEG images, all images displayed on the work surface can be exported in one export operation, so you can export multiple images at one time. To export patient images, let's get the images over on the work surface that we would like to export. Remember, I can either double click, I can left click drag, or if I want to bring multiples over, I'm holding my left click and dragging over onto the work surface. Once we have these images here, I can tile them up if I want. And then what I want to do is go up to the top toolbar, go to Work Surface, Export All, and now I can either put them on the desktop, I can make a new folder, and let's name this. This is our Midmark Feline Patient. I'll select OK. It asks, would we like to create a folder with the patient name? Yes, we will. Now what we'll do is go onto our desktop, locate that folder, and then open up those patient images. Here on my desktop, here we have our Midmark Feline Patient folder. I'm going to open that, And there are all 5 of our images that we exported. Now let's discuss how to import images or PDFs into the patient folder. Images and reports of various file formats like DICOM, JPEG, or PDF can be imported into the Patient Panel folder tab within a patient's record. In order to do this, you will go up to Image, you go down to Import, and now you locate the folder or file where those images are stored. You will locate your image. Now you can do one at a time or you can do multiples. So first I'm going to just do a single image. I highlight it, I select Open, and now you'll see right here in the patient panel, we've got our camera photo. I really like to store both digital x-rays and camera folders in the patient panel, so when I'm printing out a take-home report, I can also incorporate those camera photos with my digital images. Now, if you've created a nice take-home report and instead of printing that report out, you save the report as a PDF, which I'll go over when we talk about printing, you can also import that PDF report into this patient panel. And you would do it exactly the same way. You would go to Image, Import, and wherever you save that photo or that PDF report, you locate that file, you select it, you hit Open, and now you'll see that report has now imported into that patient panel. Now we will cover how to create a report and print images. The images displayed on the work surface can be printed to the computer's default printer using the Midmark Imaging Print Preview screen. Printed images are labeled with the patient, clinic, and tooth information. Notes associated with the image will appear below the image if you choose to include those. Now, to create the report, let's pull over onto the work surface the images that you would like to create the report and print for the client. I'm going to tile these up, and now you'll see I have my camera photo. I also have the digital images here that we've taken of this particular patient. So we have 4. Now, to print that report, I'm going to right-click, select Print. Now this will give me an option for my print setup. Do I want 1 image per page, 2 images per page, 4 images per page, or the screen layout? For this particular one, we're going to select 4 per page. We have the option to include a cover page and also include our image notes. When we went through the enhancing toolbar and we talked about the post-it note feature, we can either choose to use that feature as a client education tool and have these notes printed with the take-home report, or we can choose to hide those image notes. So we'll go ahead and select that. Now, if we want to do a cover page, right here in this text box, we can create a story. We can type in how the patient was, what we did with the patient, what our take-home recommendations are, medications to go home. This is all customized, and we can write this right here in this note-taking box. Once we select Preview, this is going to show us what that report is going to look like. And now we see the report. We've got our 4 pictures per page. We've got our camera picture here, our digital images with our notes underneath. We've selected to include these notes so that we can educate the client. And then what I've done here in this image is I've included a normal picture. I wanted to be able to show the client what a normal mandible should look like, so they have a reference to compare what's happening with their pet with how it should look. So this is a great educational tool. I'm going to show you another report if we wanted to print the screen layout. So if we want to select the screen layout, I'm going to pull up this template here in the Studies tab. This was our full mouth template that we acquired on this particular patient. So we're going to right-click, select Print, and now what we're going to do is select Layout. So now this template view is going to print. And we're going to add a cover page and our image notes, and we're going to take a look at this preview. And now you'll see we have our cover page with our notes on this particular patient that we've included. And then if we look at this second page here, now you'll see that we're printing out that template layout for the client. So those are two different ways that you can print these reports. Whether you select 1 per page, 2 per page, 4 per page, or the screen layout, that's how you would accomplish this. Now, you have an option to either print these notes, or you can save this as a PDF onto your computer. Now, you can either import that PDF back into the patient panel, you can email that report to the client, or you can import that PDF into the patient file within your practice management software. So if we select Print, and you'll notice for the printer in the drop-down box, you've got a couple different options. You'll have your default printer, and then you also have the option to print to PDF. You have other options here too, but these are the two that you're going to use. You're either going to print these out, or you're going to print to a PDF. So if I select Print to PDF, and then I come down here and I select Print, this is going to take you right into your documents. And now this goes right into your documents. You can choose where you want to put this, if you'd rather keep it on your desktop or put it in a different folder. And now you can name this Chachi Template View and select Save. Now I'd like to cover how we can email images directly from the work surface to the client or potentially to a boarded dentist for consultation. Please take note, the images that are emailed directly from the work surface are JPEG images. A couple of different ways we can do that. We can either select single images here from our patient panel, or if we're sending a study, we can go to the Studies tab. We want to make sure, whichever way we do it, that we have all of the images we would like to email on the work surface. Once all the images are on the work surface, we can right-click and select Email. This is going to take us directly to our email. It's going to have the client's name populated in the To window, and all of the images that were on the work surface are now in JPEG files ready to be sent to the client. You can type in a message here and go ahead and send these on. Backing up and restoring patient data. Midmark Imaging stores patient data on the computer where Midmark Imaging is installed in a SQL Server database or on another computer on the same network. A backup of the database can be performed to safeguard the data. In the event of data loss, the data can be restored. Backup and restore functions are also useful to archive patient records or to move patient records among multiple offices. Backing up the patient database regularly is important to ensure the patient data is not lost in the case of a computer failure. When backing up patient data, the Backup Restore wizard creates a Progeny Backup folder in the location designated. The folder contains a subfolder for each patient in the database. The patient folder contains the images and other files that are a part of the patient's records. To back up the patient database to a hard drive or network location, go up to the top toolbar, select File, Backup and Restore, click Next to continue. We'll highlight Backup. And now we select hard drive, and we have an opportunity here to browse where we want to back up the data. It's my suggestion that you do not back up the database on a CD, DVD, or Blu-ray disc burner. I feel that an hard drive, network location, or PAC server are better for the backup. So now I'm going to browse the location. I'm going to look on my desktop because I have done a backup previously. So we're going to hit OK on that folder, and then we're going to click Next. And once I click through here, it will go ahead and it will update the existing backup with any new patients that we've acquired since the previous backup. And now you'll see all of our patients are getting backed up. Backup complete, and we can select Finish. Now, if we want to restore a patient database, it can be restored from a backup file that was created by Midmark Imaging. The backup file must exist on the computer where Midmark Imaging Software has been installed, on another computer, on the same network, or on the media, such as an external hard drive. When restoring the patient database, the Backup Restore application identifies duplicate records in the patient database. If the patient record in the backup differs from the record in the database, the record will be updated to the most recent file. This is useful to maintain up-to-date patient records in multiple office locations. So to restore, you'll go up to File, Backup and Restore, Continue. Now here you'll select Restore. Now you'll locate where you have the backup. You'll find that folder. Once you locate the folder, you'll click OK, and it will restore all the patients and their images back into your Midmark Imaging software. So how often are you supposed to back up and restore? Backing up is always a good idea. As I mentioned, you want to do it regularly. Ideally on a daily basis would be great. Just in the event of a computer failure, whether it's a lightning strike or just a malfunction of your computer, it's always a good idea to have these backed up on a regular basis. You also want to do a backup anytime we upgrade the software. If we have an upgrade that's available to you, you'll want to back up your information before you do the upgrade. In the event something goes wrong, does not happen often, very rare actually, but in the event that you do lose images during an upgrade, you'll then be able to restore those right in to your patient database. Lastly, with the tutorial, I would like to go over a few important things. Upgrades, tech support, integration with practice management software, networking, and Worklist capabilities. We'll begin with how to get your upgrades. As an owner of Midmark Imaging Software and sensor system, you have unlimited upgrades for the life of your sensor. To check if there's an upgrade available, go up to the top toolbar and select Help. Then go down to Check for Updates. A blue window will pop up if you're connected to the internet, and it will let you know if you're running the latest version of Progeny Imaging Software or if there's an upgrade available. If there is an upgrade available, I'll show you the instructions on how to get that. You need to register for your upgrades on our DICOM website. To access that, you're going to go to www.download.midmark.com. Here you can register to create an account if you haven't already done so. Over here on the left, when you do the download.midmark.com, this is what will come up. Here you can either register if you don't have a username and account, or you can sign in if you've already registered. Once you do that, you will receive a confirmation email to activate your account. And once you activate that account, within 24 hours, you will receive a link to log in and receive your upgrade. Please allow for up to 24 hours to receive that upgrade. In most cases, it's much less than 24 hours, but give it 24 hours. Then if you have a DICOM account, you'll sign into that and you'll see your upgrade in your inbox. Then you will receive a zipped software package and a PDF of instructions. I'll show you what that looks like. Over here to the right, this image shows the message you will get from our Imaging Technical Support Department. You're going to select View Delivery. Once you select View Delivery, this is what you're going to see. It'll give you the delivery information, our technical services numbers, and then down at the bottom, here is that PDF with the installation instructions and the download zipped package of your new upgrade. Prior to doing your upgrade, you must do the following, and this is in that PDF document. We want you to begin downloading that zipped package. We want you to run all of your Windows updates. And we also want you to perform a backup. We covered how to do a backup in the backup portion of the tutorial. Once you do all of these things, you just follow the instructions in the PDF to uninstall your current version and reinstall your new upgraded Midmark Imaging Software package. Once you've done these three things, if you would like technical support to walk you through that uninstall and reinstall, they're happy to do that with you. Just give them a call at 1-800-MIDMARK, select option 3 and then option 1. Not only can they help you with your upgrades, they can also help you with several other things. Once you make a call to 1-800-MIDMARK for technical support, have your serial number of your sensor, or if you have a complete unit where the sensor plugs into the arm of your X-ray, have both serial numbers of your generator and your sensor handy so that they can get into your account and document everything that you're doing together. Some of the other things that you can contact technical support for would be questions on integration with practice management software. I won't get into all of the details here because there are a lot of variables with the different practice management softwares. So when you give technical support a call, make sure you let them know which practice management software you have, and then we'll let you know what the capabilities are for integration. With most of them, there's some level of integration. We also have networking capabilities. If you want to keep your imaging software as a standalone, but you would like to view images on multiple workstations in your practice, we can help you to network that software so that you can view and show images to the clients in the exam rooms, or you can look at these images in your office to review a patient's images at a later time. We also have modality Worklist capabilities, and our technical support team can discuss those options with you as well. Thank you so much for watching our tutorial on Midmark Imaging Software. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to reach out to your Midmark Territory Manager or 1-800-MIDMARK for technical support. Remember, you do have the end user tutorial in an electronic copy on your flash drive that came with your sensor, as well as an index right on your work surface if you have any questions or want additional details on anything that we covered during the tutorial. Something to consider if you're new to dental radiographs in your practice is our on-demand interpretation of dental radiographs. We have a canine-only course, a feline-only course, and then a combination course. These are all RACE approved. You get 2.5 hours for canine-only, 2 hours for feline-only, and 4.5 hours if you do the combination canine and feline. To register for the Interpretation Radiograph course, go to midmarkacademy.com. Once you go to this page, you'll go to Course Offerings. When you scroll down, you will look right here and you have the option to register for either one of these courses. We also have some other courses. There's some on-demand free courses, as well as half-day, full-day, 2-day transformational trainings. I encourage you to take a look at these courses and see if that's something that you want to invest in for your practice. Thank you again for trusting Midmark with your digital dental X-ray sensor and software package.